Today, what do I have for you today? Well, for those of you who logged on, I hope you referenced what you logged on to because you're in for a wild ride. A wild, wild ride once I get it set up here to share my screen. We're going to talk about personal brand, and I know it can be a real broad topic, and it can mean a lot of different things depending on who you ask and when you ask people, because where they're at on their journey in business. But what I want to focus on today is specifically how a real estate agent such as yourself can build a personal brand, how it'll help you, why it's important. And I'm going to really focus on things that you can do this week and next week. And it's something that's going to continue to bring you business and continue to build your brand. And in today's environment, nothing is hidden, everything's transparent. So if you're not telling your story, if you're not building your brand, other people are stealing your thunder, taking away valuable real estate online and credibility. Because it's no longer that you can have your business side, your personal side, and what you want people to see and not see. Today, everything is transparent, and so having a personal brand is more critical than ever. So let me share my screen here. Today, this is what we're talking about, how to build a personal brand that wins listings. Now, how can a personal brand win listings? That sounds like a magic bullet or just a myth. Here's the thing. How you're perceived before people meet you sets the stage and sets the rung on where you'll start the conversation. Also, if someone meets you, what do? They Google you. You've probably done it before. We've all had it happen to us, whether we know it or not. And they see what they can find on you, because a lot of home sellers and home buyers are skeptical. In today's environment, there's a lot of skepticism. And so if you can kind of concrete your brand, concrete your message online in all your marketing material, it's going to make it way more effective. So often we think we can just throw out postcards or we can just do the new hack and everything will work. And we leave out the heart of what really matters. That is your personal brand. So a couple reasons why you would want to build a personal brand: to outrank any brokerage. Now, personal brand is going to outrank a brokerage because brokerages come and go, and you can leave a brokerage and move to another, and your personal brand will stay intact and you'll carry that with you. But if you don't have that, you're just trying to hide behind your broker's logo. They're not an employer. You're an employee. You have your own company, and your personal brand is what represents it. Personal connection. People feel like they have a personal connection with you. I know this may sound like fluff or cliche, but that's why people buy. Big companies, Coca-Cola, FedEx, Target, they have emotional attachments to their brand, and that's how they advertise. Why does Coca-Cola advertise someone drinking a Coke in the theater and sitting next to someone, a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or they'll tell a story in an ad to create emotion? That creates a connection, and you can do that as a real estate agent without being Coca-Cola. It adds credibility, your personal brand. It's going to make you stand out head and shoulders above everybody else. Organic advertising. Here's the thing. When you have a personal brand and then you go advertise, totally different. You're starting a head and shoulders above everyone else. Whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever it's at, wherever you're advertising, when you have a personal brand, you have a heartbeat to go off of, and it's easy to get traction. Referrals. People refer those who they remember. Your personal brand is going to outlive everything else. And so if they can't remember you when they're thinking of referring you, it's useless. Your personal brand is going to help concrete that in their mind. It's going to highlight your plus points. So often, if we let the prospect take the conversation and start interrogating us, they're going to come at us with everything they feel that they want to ask us about. Now, if we come into it highlighting our strengths, highlighting our highlights, we're going to set a totally different, we're going to send a totally different message than we would by just trying to be everything to everybody. So your personal brand is going to highlight your strength, which is going to say, my strength is better than anything else out there, so I can sell homes better than everyone else. You don't have to say that, but in your message, in your personal brand, you'll highlight your strengths. Now, these are just to name a few. You can probably think of some right now, and maybe you can't identify them, but you can think of brands right now in your mind that you go and you purchase without investigating the entire product, whether it's a Mac product, if you're a Mac guy, Windows, if you're a window guy, as far as computers, if you like Target, if you like wherever you shop, Costco, wherever you go, there's companies that have taken their personal brand and really embedded it into your lifestyle, and you can do that as a real estate agent. I'm going to show you how. I know this may sound kind of complicated and high level. I'm not Costco, Coke, or Target, or any of these, but these are things that you can do on a small scale in your community, in your market, and have results. But here's the problem with this. The biggest problem that I've seen from going to the East Coast to the West Coast, up into Canada, and working with thousands of real estate agents. The biggest problem I see with this is you're only as strong as your weakest link. Now, I'm talking about your personal brand. When you build your personal brand, if it's a weak link, don't put it in there. Your personal brand should be strong, clear, and to the point, and it should be something that resonates on all your messaging, whether it's an advertising piece, online, listing presentation, pre-listing package, referral package, whatever it is, your personal brand should be as strong as it can be. And so by really honing it down, cutting away the fat, and really getting to the core, you're going to have a personal brand that's going to be strong and dependable. And that's what I see the weakest link. I see a lot of agents out there advertising everything to everyone, and they end up with nothing because they're creating white noise, they're creating fuzz. Everything's a blur because they haven't honed in their personal brand. Now, the solution to this is follow a proven process and take steps to strengthen your brand. Now, here's the thing. A proven process should be simple, should be clear to you, and should be something that you can implement. If it's too complicated, if it's too high level, it's not proven enough for an agent to do. So what I'm focusing on today are things that you can do with very little help from a freelancer or someone. And here's the thing. Other tactics come and go in real estate. Your personal brand, once you build it, it's evergreen. And it's going to give you something solid to bolt on all these other things, whatever you want to do, Facebook advertising, Instagram, print advertising. It's going to give a core for those to bolt onto. So often we don't have that core as real estate agents, and we have nothing to bolt these onto, and they're just money suckers. They take our time, and we're frustrated at the end, and we feel like we're maybe incompetent to do these things, but we're not. The key is, the secret is to have a core personal brand. So that's the solution I'm going to share with you today. We're going to run through it in very simple steps so you can understand. And as I'm going through this is something I'm very passionate about. This is something I love, I dream about, I think about. I love watching commercials because I love advertising and seeing the psychology behind it. And so I can get really passionate and I can get going really fast, probably like I am now. So I'm going to try to slow down and so I don't overwhelm you. But I'm going to give you steps that you can take, and please ask questions. Denise is going to help me man the chat box if she hasn't fallen asleep. You there, Denise?
Yep, sorry. I'm staying muted because of all the ruckus over there, but I am awake.
Yeah, no need to be sorry. Glad to have you here. Denise is going to be helping with the chat box. She's going to be watching for your questions. So chat the box. This is really about you guys, about you that I have on here today. And so I want to make sure that I'm delivering value to you, and I'm of service to you. So ask questions. Please take notes as well. That can help sometime if you're taking notes. And so as you're, maybe chatting the box and taking notes, it's going to help give you a clearer vision when we get to the end, and we want to end with actionable items that you can take away and do today. So with that in mind, let's start with how you can create a personal brand. Now, we talked about the why, and I hope you see the value of a personal brand. Next, we're going to talk about creating a personal brand and then how you can leverage that. It's all about leverage. It's all about tipping the scale your way. And so when you go into these listing appointments or phone calls or door knocks or mail pieces, that you have something that sets you head and shoulders above the other agents out there. Now, how do you go creating a personal brand? Let's talk about the 4 essentials to creating your personal brand. These are basic practical things that you can do today. The first, 4 steps. So we go through visuals, identity, target, and then I have the secret I call of personal branding. And if you do this last step right, I guarantee you it will work magic. I have yet to see an agent who has done this that it hasn't worked for. So these are proven things that you can do, and any agent, whether you've been in the business for 5 minutes or 50 years, these are things that you can do. Let's talk about visuals, because before anything happens, what do you have to get? Attention. You have to get attention. Someone comes in a room and they have an announcement and they just start talking and telling a room full of a couple hundred people what they're saying. It's not going to work. They need to get on a platform. They need to get on a stage, and people need to see them up there and say, okay, they have my attention. The crowd quiets down, and now the speaker can talk. Or if you walk in a room and you're not on a stage, you're going to get attention by clapping, by doing something. If you're going to do a cheers, a toast, you're going to hit your fork on your cup. So the first thing is attention, and that's what we need to realize with branding. And it starts with a color palette, right? Because wherever it's online, offline, you should have a color palette of your brand, because it may seem minute right now and small or unimportant, but as you build your brand, this is going to be the glue that holds it together, where people see it, they recognize it. When you're driving down the road and you see the golden arches, you think hamburger, right? I think cholesterol, because I can't have that. But you may think hamburger. Target, you see that red Target, you don't even see the name. You think Target, Starbucks, all these things, they have a color palette to them. They use in all their branding. A logo. Now, not your broker's logo, not Keller Williams, not Coldwell Banker, not Remax. Those are just a very small, minute detail that can go on the bottom of your marketing for legality purposes. Your logo, your personal brand, you should have a logo for your brand that includes a tagline, which we're going to go over as well. And this should be something that represents you, whether it's Joe Nicholson Real Estate or it's, Harry Potter Real Estate. That'd be a good one. Whatever it is, you should have a logo to where identify, visual, right away. They're going to identify that logo, and then you're going to couple it with a professional picture. An up-to-date picture, not your graduation picture from 1964. I'm talking about an up-to-date picture, professional, that fits your personality, whether it's arms crossed, whether it's a warm smile. I would say smile, right? You don't want to look upset and pissed, but you want a professional picture coupled with your logo.
Joe, these examples that you have here, they have their arms crossed, but they still look friendly. They just look professional. So yeah. I want to point that out.
Great point. And it's, the attorneys started this because you're negotiating. You cross your arms.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever you feel comfortable with. And that's the thing about with what I'm sharing here. This is your personal brand. I'm going to give you some pointers and some very critical essentials that you're going to want to stay focused on.
Sometimes your pose can depend on whatever your niche is too. So you want to look more approachable if you're working with, young first-time buyers. versus, office buildings. So
Yeah, totally, Denise. That's a good point. So whatever your niche is, that should fit your personality, and that's going to be something we're going to hone in on here too. Is finding your niche and your strength, because that's going to identify your brand. But and then color scheme, logo, professional picture should go across all platforms. Why do I emphasize creating this and having it consistent? Because once one and done, this is done, and then you build from that versus just making noise and having new ideas out there all the time. Your marketing needs to be consistent. We got a comment in here. Crossed arms historically means not open to new information. Too many body language experts. There's a lot of debates on that. What's that, Denise?
I said that's true. That I feel like somebody who's crossing their arms is kind of saying, I already know what I need to know. Like, I'm the one with all the knowledge, so.
Yeah, no, that is true, because
some scenarios, but it just depends,
Yeah, no, and that's true, because in speaking too, you have open palms. It says, yeah, I'm here to connect. So however you feel comfortable, but a professional picture, and then that should be consistent across all your platforms, because people will recognize before they read, and they recognize the things that are clear, concise, and consistent. It must be clear. It must be concise and consistent. You don't want to just fill different colors and different noises. Now, the next after visuals is identity. Now, I'm going to get into this a little bit more, but I wanted to touch on this first, because I don't know if anyone's heard of Simon Sinek. I love his books and what he stands for. He talks about finding your why. Why did you get into real estate? A lot of agents I talk to, they say, well, I needed an income. And historically, real estate has been that industry that's like backing up your car, and you hit something and you get out to see what you hit, and you think, and you find out, I'm in real estate. Most people get into real estate second or third occupation, and because they want to make money.
That's not a great answer though for your why.
No, that's what I hear the most, and that's not a good answer for your why. So the reason I'm mentioning that, you got to get past this, okay? Past keeping the lights on, past building retirement and all that, and think more deeper than that. You're peeling it back like an onion. What makes you feel good at night?
You can do other jobs and make money. So why did you specifically choose real estate over other career options? You have to think of it that way, because so many different careers can lead to income. All careers lead to income, hopefully.
And yeah, hopefully.
Except for being a writer, right, Joe?
Yeah, it's like anything. Yeah, a lot of writers don't make income. A lot of real estate agents don't make an income. But the why I'm talking about is what makes you feel good at the end of the day. Helping someone get into their home for the first time, helping someone sell their home and move on with their life. Really dig deep and find out my why. Why do I enjoy real estate? Or what do I enjoy about real estate? Because this is going to help you through your tagline, through your story, through all the aspects and in your personal brand. And then next, identify your strengths. These are two things that are specifically you. You can't go say, I see that person likes to do that, so I'm going to do that. The most common line I hear in real estate is, I go by the golden rule. Do unto others like you would like them, have them do unto you. And it's such a cliche because so many people say it. I say, dig deeper. Why do you believe that? Is there a story in your life where that was the catalyst of that belief? And is that tied back to your why, that when I do something for someone else, I feel good because I remember when someone did something for me when I needed help? So these are going to go into your why, and then your strengths. What are you strong at? Are you a networker? Are you a presenter? Are you a numbers guy or woman where you just want to through the numbers and get that low-lying fruit? are you someone who's going to build a deeper relationship with your prospects and grow your business that way? These are two big mistakes I see.
Negotiation. Some people are awesome at negotiation.
Yeah, look at Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank. he is a little guy with a lot of negotiation skills. But whatever it is, don't be afraid to find out what your strengths are and identifying them, because this is going to be what's going to carry you through the ups and downs, and that's going to make you successful.
But the more specific you can be, the better, you know? If you say the same, if you're too general and you just say, I like people, you know, the more specific you can be, the better, I think.
Yeah, someone could say, I like people, and it could be a cannibal, right? Just dig deep under the surface and ask yourself over and over. And that's what Simon Sinek talks about. You ask your why over and over, and it's going to cut the fat, clarify your core message. This is something you can do in your car when you're driving, write in a notepad. It's going to be astronomical, the success that it's going to bring you if you do this. One, because many people don't do that. And number two, it's going to get you closer to your target, which that's what I want to talk about next. It's about really honing in your target. Now, if I were to go target shooting at a competition, right, I would be terrible. Olympic competition for target shooting, I can't hit my own shadow. But here's the deal. If I move that target closer to me, then I'm going to have a much bigger success rate on hitting that. So it's really about honing in your niche, finding your unique value proposition. And notice I didn't say unique sales proposition, because once you have value and it's proposed to a way where they understand it, the sale comes naturally. And then your brand tagline as well. And I'm going to share some examples here, specifically for Karen. She says this is moving slow. So Karen, we'll speed it up for you. And if you guys have questions, chat it in the box. Now here's some tagline examples. And the reason I brought this up, I've seen some pretty god-awful ones in real estate. When people, it's like what Denise said. Someone's tagline is like, I like people. It's like, that is not specific enough. Who can identify this one? When it absolutely positively has to be there overnight. FedEx, right? Their first one for a while was solutions that matter and we understand, which just kind of gave this foggy vision of some possible value. But when people hear when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight, they know FedEx. Dove Soap, beauty is for everyone. And that is Dove's Soap's message. That's what they preach on their soapbox, is beauty is for everyone. And this invites all women to realize their personal potential.
What they preach on their soapbox. That was a good pun.
That's it. I mean, you hear it in all their commercials, and they repeat it different ways, and then they tie back their message to it. So as a real estate agent that's not delivering packages and that's not making soap, what can you do? Well, maybe, here's one, knowledge and experience. Knowledgeable and experienced. This would maybe be for someone that's been in the real estate industry for a long time. Maybe you feel that you're behind the curve and you're not the Facebook frenzy that the millennials are. Well, why would you go try to be when you can actually leverage that you've been in the real estate for a long time, and then your messaging would always go back to that, knowledgeable and experienced. Maybe you would have things about why you would want someone who's knowledgeable and experienced, share things that could go wrong in the real estate industry. That's why I'm here. Knowledgeable and experienced for 35 years. Whatever it is, you got to have a tagline and you have to stick to it. And it has to be the message that you preach to everyone you come in contact with. Now, another thing that is critical, and this is what a lot of businesses and agents and personal brands are missing, it's a storyline. You have to have a storyline. You have to be able to tell a story, tell your story, and then have other people tell your story versus just a logo and a name and a tagline. It has to have a story behind it. Why story? Story gets people to take action and increases engagement. The two things that we're struggling the most with as real estate agents. And here's a couple examples of why you would want a story and how it will benefit you. Number one, people have emotional connections to stories. You've probably been to a movie recently and you got engulfed in the whole storyline and the outcome. I've been in movie theaters and see people cry. I'm not going to tell you I cry in movie theaters because I don't want to indict myself. But it has an emotional connection. It gives something that someone can get behind. Now, here's the thing. Many studies have shown that people make a quicker, faster, and more consistent decision emotionally than anything else, any logic or any data. As real estate agents, we can get engulfed in data and logic, and we have no story behind it, and we've lost them before we even won them over. They're not listening to us.
Yep.
People remember stories. You can probably remember someone right now that you have an interpersonal relationship with. Maybe you don't personally know them. You've done business with them or something, and you know something about them. That was Mary who did this, or who volunteers at the dog shelter, or I always see volunteering at the school. Whatever it is, whatever that is, we can remember someone because of a story. People relate to stories. In real estate, we have so much real estate jargon. All these big words in the real estate space that we use to sound smart and because we know that. Curse of knowledge. Avoid real estate jargon. Tell stories that people can relate to. Print it out, whatever it is, and look through it and see what words in here are not relatable, are not in layman terms that anybody could understand. and then story brings everything back to your strengths. That's what you want to stay in control, right? If I'm experienced and knowledgeable, that's my tagline, and then I have my message under that. Now when I'm talking, I want to tell stories and bring it back to that. That's why I believe real estate transactions should be done with someone who's knowledgeable and experienced, so you don't run into the situation that Ted did over there. Tell a story, bring it back to your strengths. Here's the thing. We're all not good at everything. It's the 80-20 rule. Take the top 10, 20% of what you're good at. That's going to be your message. That's going to be something that you preach and that you highlight. You have emotional engagement, and the rest won't matter. It won't matter how many listings you have. All these other things that we hear touted all the time. A lot of agents will join a team to say, I sold 159 homes this year. And they think that's going to be something that's really going to propel their personal brand. I don't see it happening. Now, it may have happened for you. I don't see it happening on a broad scale from corner to corner of the country in Canada, dealing with over 32,000 agents. I don't see a personal connection to that. And when I talk to home sellers, I hear it all the time. They say, Joe, I don't give a rat's back end how many homes they sold. I want to know how they're going to take care of me, and I want to trust them. Trust is a feeling. Trust is not a tangible thing. It's a feeling, and it's something you can't see. Therefore, it's something you feel. Having a story will build that before you even start selling them. Now, you may be thinking, okay, Joe, this is high level. This is kind of broad. How do I use this in my business as a real estate agent? I'm going to share with you how you can leverage all these things we talked to, and I think it'll help be the catalyst to concrete it in your mind of, yes, that makes sense, and here's how I'm going to use it. Visuals are important. They're so important. Yes, you know your face, you know where your message is at online, but do others? If it's consistent, you'll use it on your profile, realtor.com, LinkedIn, Zillow, Facebook, Instagram, just to name a few. If you look at your platforms, that your profile platforms, they should be consistent. Not consistently terrible, consistent with a professional picture, a logo with a color palette, and then it's going to lead down to a story as well. That way, when someone gets a flyer, gets your book, or whatever they get in the mail,
they'll be able
they
to
go back and they recognize it.
They can connect the dots.
Yep. And subconsciously, they'll connect the dots. Oh, yeah, I know who that is. That's Joe. Now, how are you going to, on the area we talked about with targeting, how is a niche, a unique value proposition, and a tagline going to help you? Well, a niche is something that you have to pick first. Then you get your unique value proposition, what makes you valuable, which is going to go back to your strengths, and then your tagline. It's going to help rank online, right? Keywords. It's going to rank you online faster. Video needs a call to action. At the end of it, you should say your tagline, who you are, and what you want them to do. Constantly saying this over and over and over is not annoying and repetitive to your prospects because they're busy. They want to hear your message over and over. Not necessarily if they even want to, they must. Otherwise, you're going to get lost in the crowd. Prospects will remember your brand. You want them to remember your brand. This is going to affect referrals. This is going to affect how they call you back if they forgot your phone number. What that's doing, you don't have to be a perfect target shooter, right? A perfect marksman. Move that target closer to you, and you have an advantage over all the other agents.
One good example that I can think of is political ads. Like I'll be listening to one of my Pandora stations, and a candidate will buy a certain amount of space, and I hear that candidate's message every time I turn on Pandora. And even though I'm not a fan of that candidate and I don't plan on voting for them, I know their name, I know their message and their tagline. So that's how it works.
Perfect example. And the political space is a great way to look at that because they have to come from nowhere, make an impact, and get a vote to win. And it's win or lose. There's no second place. Now, how can you leverage your strengths and why? This is something that, again, that goes back to your identity. It's going to identify the lead type you want to go after when you know your strengths and your why. If your why is, I went through a divorce, I lost everything, I couldn't figure out how to sell the house, and now I'm going after people going through a divorce. Wow, that's a powerful story, and that's going to easily help you identify the lead source versus trying to chase everything. One bird in the hand is better than two birds in the bush. We've all heard that. But it's hard as a real estate agent. There's so many things to distract us. But when we know our strengths, we know our why, we can identify our leads. We have the strengths to close, right? We're in there closing the deal, and we're not trying to sell them something that doesn't match their problem. We've matched it up, and then we've matched it up with our strength. Again, if I'm knowledgeable and experienced, that's what I'm going to preach in a listing presentation, and that's what I'm going to bring attention to. People see what you bring attention to, and that's going to become their focus, and then they're going to see that that's your strength. Connect the dots. That's when they say, hey, here you go. Where do I need to sign? Where do I need to sign? You don't even have to ask for the close. Again, your story will stick when you have your why and your strength lined up. It's something that will relate. They'll see it's emotionally charged, and they'll see that it's relatable to them and you. It's not just some cliche quote that I pulled from Webster's dictionary. Now, your story, how can you use your story and leverage that? Well, for one, reviews. When you know your strengths, you know your story, and your prospects know your story, they're going to talk about that. They're going to say, yes, I chose Joe to sell my house because I wanted someone knowledgeable and experienced, and he was just that. I've had a lot of agents come and say, I want to get your listing, and they didn't have the knowledge that Joe did, right? So say that was your tagline. Your reviews are going to tell your story better when your prospects or your clients who are giving reviews know your story. And it's going to be, you can tie reviews into stories as well, even if they don't. So if they talk about, you know, how you sold their house in 7 days, etc., I would enhance that review with a story, which included my tagline and my strength on how I sold that house, why I did what I did, have the testimonial, and then have a call to action after it. Testimonials just sitting out there, a lot of them that are so short and vague, particularly, it's like having meat with no sandwich, right? You need to sandwich it in with, you know, how you sold the home, here's a testimonial, and then a call to action for anybody reading it, what they should do. That's a review now turned into a story. Your story, you'll use it in your book, right? You have books, you'll use your story in your book, and that's going to really concrete the book as yours. Your authority website, where they get your book, it's going to give you credibility and authority, and prospects take action when they feel like someone is credible and able to help them, right? And then your story, your emotional piece is going to build trust, rapport. They're going to like you, and that's who they're going to list with. I can't tell you how many home sellers I've talked to because I interrogate them on why they chose who they did. And many times they say, I just felt he got me. I just felt she understood me. And I didn't really care how many houses they sold. So your story is really going to concrete that. Other platforms, you'll use your story, video, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, just to name a few. You want to tell your story in bits and pieces, and then you want to put your story out there online. As you start telling it, it'll become embedded in your DNA. Not that it already is, but many times it's covered up with layer and layer and layer of dogma, of bad habits we learned from the real estate space, of just, you know, trying to close the sale hardcore, trying to do these things that are like fishing in a bloody ocean. If you do the things that I talked about with a personal brand, it takes you out of that bloody ocean where everybody's fighting over fish and puts you in your own blue ocean where you can easily catch and reel in those listings. And people say, how do you do it? How do you always get these listings? You just have an unfair advantage, or you're just lucky. Well, luck is a combination of preparation and opportunity. When they come together, that's usually what people call luck. This is your time to get prepared because there's opportunities out there when you're prepared with your own personal brand. And so that's really things, I tried to include things that you could implement, right? If you need someone to do a logo for you, Fiverr.com, get one for $10. They'll do a couple versions. Pick some colors that are gonna fit into your brand. Tell your story. Ask people around you, what they see in you, people who know you, and they'll tell you, Karen, you're really good at listening. You really get people. You're really analytical and detailed, and so I feel like that's a real strength you have. Ask people these things around you that know you, and they'll tell you. And they'll tell you what they see, and then bring that to light in your story and in your personal brand, and maybe build out one profile a week. And before you know it, you're encompassing all these platforms online consistently. That's the thing. It has to be consistent. It's not magic. It's not complicated. I think it's something we just have to do as real estate agents. And then, we see the momentum pick up. So if you have any questions, chat the box. Let us know if you tried to do any of these things, or if you...
Bill wants to know what was the logo company, but I think he's referring to Fiverr when you referred to them to get, your logo made.
Yeah, Fiverr.com is
How do you spell that, Joe? I'll type it into the box.
Yeah, I just dropped it in there.
Oh, okay.
And it used to be a website where you could get things done for $5. And I think it still is, but there's a lot of different price brackets. But you can go on there and hire a freelancer and say, hey, I want 5 logos, maybe even take a paper and kind of draw out what you want. I want 5 versions of this with this color palette. And they'll create them. And then that'll be something that you can run with, and it's your own personal logo. And I would, if I were you, I would recommend looking at what other brokerages and real estate agents are doing in your area, and then think not how can I copy them, how can I do it different? How can I be different than them? Maybe it's a color, maybe it's a design, but keep it simple, keep the font clean, because you want people to know when they see it, oh, that's Bill Roberts. Bill Roberts. Yep, that's Bill Roberts. And I've seen some where they even take their name and they incorporate it with their color scheme as well and build it into their logo. So there's many ways to do it, but I would start with a color palette, and then I would go to Fiverr and get a logo. Has anybody done any of these successfully, or feel like they have maybe done one of these and started any of these? Chat the box and let us know. Have you started a story? Have you created a tagline, a logo, up-to-date professional picture?
I have a couple of people on the Q&A box that are asking for the color palette article.
It's in the
because we do have a training article that deals with branding and the color stuff. So that'd probably be good for everybody.
Yeah, we'll send that out with the replay. But yeah, I would really consider what colors you're going to use, and don't overthink it though. Choose something and stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
More important than the color is the clarity of it, and then also how consistently you use it.
Mm-hmm. Just off the top of my head, I can remember that blue, of course, is the most popular because everybody loves blue. Green can mean a lot of different things, from money to vitality, but it kind of just depends on the shade of green that you use. Red can be powerful and stand out because so many people use blue. But sometimes using red or black can come across really aggressively. So it's good to have an expert's opinion, a designer or something like that.
Yeah, and then your tagline.
Mm-hmm.
What's your strengths? And I think everything that we do as real estate agents in messaging should always encompass a benefit to our reader, to our potential client.
Mm-hmm.
And so really think about that, and it takes time cutting the fat down.
I liked your idea of asking people, previous clients, friends, and family about ideas for your strengths for your branding, because sometimes when we try and come up with it on our own, it's like we can't, or, we don't have the best, we don't have the clearest lens of ourselves. So that's a good idea to ask other people.
Yeah, because for me, as soon as I ask myself what I'm good at, my inner critic pipes up and starts telling me all the things I'm not good at. And
self-deprecation.
It keeps me humble. But when I talk to real estate agents, that's what they tell me all the time. Joe, I don't want to write my story. I don't feel comfortable, like I have obtained enough, or I don't have enough value. And I've had some of them where I've interviewed them, and then we went and wrote their story and worked with them. And it takes a lot of work. And so it's something that if you can ask people around you that know you, it will be better. But then afterwards, they read it and they said, oh my gosh, if I were me, I would want to work with me. You made me sound so good. Truth be told, we didn't tell any BS. It was just a story that got emotional engagement, and it's like a movie. I mean, if you don't believe that this is something that
it's all the way you present yourself. Even the most inexperienced agent obviously has other experiences that are relatable and things to offer. So
and then you'll put it in your book.
A
story that you put
we have a question from an anonymous attendee who asks, what is the best way to get feedback or a review of your book after you've shared it with a first-time home buyer?
Send it out, and then you're going to call, you're going to email, you're going to talk to them. And in your training section on the Authorify website, whole course that breaks down and we give you email templates, we give you scripts, we give you everything that not only you can get reviews with, but you can also use to nurture your sphere.
That's a members only course though. You got to be a member.
Yeah, so in your member section, you'll have that whole course, templates and all, and it really breaks down, how you can use your book. So if you have the book, you're a member, and
True.
you can use it to get reviews. And we really streamlined it. And these things that we're sharing on these events and that we're sharing in the training portion of the website as a member, they're the top things we see agents asking about and struggling with. That's what we focus on. If we see a lot of agents doing something well and it's something that just seems to happen more natural in the real estate space, we don't really put training on that because we don't see people in need of it. So as we go through creating these events and training and articles and our newsletter, we're focusing on things that agents have asked for. And we go out, we find solutions, and then what we do is we dig in to agents across the country and find out who's doing these things, how are they doing them, and how does it work for them. That was a mouthful. and then we put training on it. So if there's something that you would like to see training on, you would like to see in an article, you would like to see in the newsletter.
We have a question from Robert who wants to know, is my account with Smart Agents now with Authorify? I don't recall getting an email to say. That is a question for your success coach to clear up anything pertaining to your membership particulars. Do you know who your success coach is, Robert?
And if you
no idea,
you can just call support and ask them. Yeah. They'll give you they'll tell you who your success coach is. Yeah, so if you just call support, they'll tell you who your success coach is. And Denise, why do we have success coaches?
So that all members have a point of contact for any concerns, questions, upgrades, basically anything they want to do or ask about pertaining to their membership. It's to kind of streamline the process and make it easier for them to have one person that they can go to instead of a whole tree branch full, of people to talk to. So the point is that you have that one person that you can build a relationship with about your membership. So if you don't know who it is, then you need to call the support number. Do we have that number, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the website. But yeah, your success coach is there to make sure that you're successful and you have everything you need. Nothing like calling up and talking to one person one day, another person the next day. One point of contact, just like Denise said, to really hone in how we can help you on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to make sure that you're successful. So that's really what the success coach does, and they'll help you through the whole process. And so if anybody has questions and they're not seeing the answers on the website or they're not seeing the answers on the training portion, contact your success coach and they'll be happy to spend time with you and make sure you know what you have and you're able to leverage it into listings. So with that said, if you also, what I was going to say before, if you have anything where you want to see training on, things that you're struggling with, let us know. We'll create training on it. That's why we're here. We're here to give you value and make sure that we're helping you grow your business. And it's just that, it's a business. As a real estate agent, you're a business owner. You're an independent business owner, and you got to run it that way. You got to brand it that way, and it's going to pay off in the future. And it pays off quick. I've talked to people who started building their branding and then started marketing, and they say, "Joe, I'm getting listings quicker than I ever thought, and I'm a new agent, right?" And they're getting listings that other agents aren't getting that have been in the business for a long time. They're advertising, they have their branding built out, people are recognizing them, and they're not calling the agent that they used before, they're calling the agent that they see and understand the most. So if you want to be the agent that they see and they understand the most, I encourage you to build your personal brand It's not something you have to do today, right now, but I would outline on a checklist what you're going to do and work through it. They're little minute, things that you can do for an ongoing reward. So with that, I think we're going to put a wrap on this. Looks like we've answered all the questions, went through the training. Again, this will go out in a replay to all of our members, and then we will also attach the article about the color palette, because that was one question that came up as well. I will encourage anyone on here, start building your personal brand. If you start doing it and you have questions, feel free to reach out to me or Denise or your success coach and ask them, and we can help you, point you in the right direction. If we don't know the answer to your question, we don't just make up crap, we'll find it. We'll find an answer that fits you and your style, and that makes you successful. So thanks everyone for showing up.
Everyone.
I look forward to seeing everyone next Tuesday, same time, same station, where we will have Lana and Carrie on here asking questions about your book and how you can use them more successfully, and also all the other bells and whistles you have as a member. So thank you. Have a good day, and we will be in touch. Talk soon.